Seahawks Today here for the second time today, mustache-free, as we have a lot to get to on this Thursday evening, and we want to catch you up to speed on what's going on with some roster updates for your Seattle Seahawks. Let's begin with Cody Thompson, as he has been promoted to the active roster and will fill the spot as the number 5 receiver. You may recall a few days ago, me and Smitty were talking about how it seemed kind of strange that the Seahawks were only carrying 4 wide receivers on the active roster. That limited what you could do offensively, right? Now you call up Cody Thompson, who we've seen a little bit this year, 5 games to be exact, has 1 catch for the season for 10 yards. I don't expect a ton anyway, but it does provide something and also kind of a safety net of some sorts of if you have a game day injury or something late in the week, if something were to happen to one of the other receivers. So that's the way I look at it with Thompson. I'll say this, he wouldn't have been my first choice, though, if we were activating guys from the practice squad to get a chance to get one of those receiver positions. I mean, Aesop Winston, his mom, has been super chatting us saying that she wants her son to get some playing time. I agree. I'd like to see Aesop out there. Kay Johnson, another guy, his dad's a viewer of Seahawks Today. What about Kay Johnson potentially getting those guys a chance? I would have rather seen those guys, no offense, than I would have seen Cody Thompson. But nonetheless, here is your depth chart where things stand. JSN holding down that number 3 spot. Jake Bobo, the number 4 receiver. But the production far and away this season has been DK and Tyler Lockett by a mile before you find JSN and Jake Bobo. And D. Eskridge is going to be coming back here pretty soon as well. So something to monitor there. What do you think of the Seahawks roster where things stand right now? There's still some other things that we got to get to here in just a moment. But of what you know, how would you grade the Seahawks roster? I like the roster. I've said that for quite some time. It's about a B+ for me. What is it for you? Nail it in that comment section and let me know. Folks, this is why you subscribe to Seahawks Today. It is a late night. Me and Smitty here are still working away with our second video here on Seahawks Today. So, show us some appreciation. Subscribe now if you haven't already for daily Seattle Seahawks coverage. We're doing more videos than we ever have before here on the channel. We're going to have a hell of a watch party on Sunday. We bring you breaking news, rumors. We're counting down the trade deadline. This is your Seattle Seahawks headquarters right here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. Couple practice squad changes. With Thompson getting promoted, that means that Cody White and Greg Eiland have been added to the practice squad. Eiland's a name you should be familiar with. Cody White is a new, fresh face to the Seahawks. Let's start with Cody White. He comes over from where he was most recently with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was on the Steelers' active roster at one point. We have seen him on the offseason and practice squads for the Broncos, Giants, and Chiefs. Limited playing time of what he did see in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, with 6 catches, 35 yards total for a former undrafted receiver out of Michigan State back in 2020. Now, when it comes to Cody White, what intrigues me about him and bringing him to the equation, granted, we don't know a ton. We mentioned it's a small sample size of the amount he's actually played. But as you look into the details in the scouting report, this is a guy that looks the part. He's 6'3", 217. That, my friends, intrigues me. That's an NFL size and frame. And as I was watching the film and trying to learn more about this guy, he sells the route breaks. So he's got those things going for him. Lance Erline of NFL Media had this to say, his scouting report a while back. Here it is in detail. White looks comfortable getting through his routes and making catches in space against zone or off coverage. There are clearly ball skills that work in his favor, but the lack of functional speed and quickness too often turn him into a coverage magnet. Interesting. More on the Seahawks roster in just one moment. Before we do, we have a new sponsor here on Seahawks Today. Let me tell you about PrizePicks, folks. I got to say, PrizePicks is awesome. If you haven't played PrizePicks, you need to check it out. Here's how it works, folks. You go to prizepicks.com, PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the promo code CLNS. I'm going to make sure to put it in the comments and the description of today's video for you. It is daily fantasy sports made easy. Choose 2 players, and it's real simple, more or less. When it comes to a given number, like let's say passing yards or receptions or rushing yards, whatever it may be. NFL categories, they also have everything from college football to the NBA, Major League Baseball, and more. Here's a couple that I like in particular this week. I got Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins both going more on the yardage number that's set for them. 221.5 for Baker, 232.5 for Kirk Cousins. And if, let's say I throw $20 down on this, I'm going to win 60. You can too. You can get a $100 deposit match when you go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS. Terms and conditions do apply. Check them out. Proud new partner of Seahawks today, PrizePicks. You'll be glad you did. Holton Ahlers. We talked about family members that watch this show. Holton Ahlers, his mom and dad, they watch Seahawks today. He has been cut from the practice squad. But I don't think it's the last that we've probably seen of Holton Ahlers. He's been bouncing around the practice squad back and forth for pretty much the last several weeks at this point. He was one of the standouts of training camp and of the preseason. He showed off some moves. He had the moves like Jagger going with what he was able to do in the zone read game, the UDFA out of East Carolina. So that's not one I consider to be a long-term thing. I think that we are going to see him back. In fact, Ahlers, I wouldn't even rule out, if God forbid something happens to Geno or Drew Lock, that he could even get the chance to get called up to be the number 2 quarterback if something were to happen to that end. So not necessarily the end of Ahlers there. Greg Eiland, I do want to tell you about him, who the Seahawks did end up bringing back to the practice squad, another guy like Ahlers that's bounced back and forth. This is a guy in Greg Eiland that can do a little bit of everything. Played left tackle, left guard, and right tackle in college. So that's 3 out of 5 positions on the offensive line. Can he snap the football too? I'm very curious. And for a former UDFA out of Mississippi State, it's pretty cool to see him around. As you're trying to read between the lines on some of these deals, here's the thing with Greg Eiland. He's kind of just an extra body. Each time he's gotten called up has been when there has been an injury on the offensive line, then he comes back to the practice squad. So in his case, he's just kind of that extra body for now, and then when somebody gets healthy, he'll be off the practice squad again, and we'll continue this cycle of things. We'll get to the injury report for the Seahawks in a moment, but first, what's a move that you would like to see the Seahawks make next? Trade deadline's coming up just over a week and a half from right now. Get in that comment section. Let us know what you would like to see the Seahawks do. Last on our updates for the Seahawks, let's go over the injury updates as of this Thursday. Within the last hour or so of what went on, we'll go to the practice report in just a second. First, though, we told you earlier in this week, Coby Bryant going to IR after suffering a toe injury. So that's unfortunate for the Seahawks, with Bryant playing a role that was significant, not just at the corner spot, but also safety as well. Had shown some good versatility to play both positions. So that's a loss, but the Seahawks do have depth. So I hate it for Coby Bryant, but it is something the Seahawks can manage necessarily. The Thursday practice report, let's look at these that come to mind. Evan Brown with the hip, Zach Charbonnet, Jake Curhan, DK Metcalf, all DNPs on that front. Now, the Metcalf one probably stands out, but his absence is actually expected. With where he's at, the Seahawks are kind of taking him easy during the week and making sure he's okay for the rest of the way, not trying to overwork him too much in practice, but he's expected to be fine when it comes game day on Sunday. The limited list, Cross, Lewis, Lockett, Artie Burns, Trey Brown, all of those guys limited at this point in time. It sounds like a long injury report for the Seahawks, and I get it if you may think it's that way. But if you start Googling and looking at other teams, compare the Seahawks situation to others, they aren't in terrible shape, actually. So my concern is not too high. You're in a manageable situation with these injuries the Seahawks are dealt with at the moment. What's your concern level right now? Mine, I put very low, like maybe a 3 or 4. What's your concern level? Scale it for me in the comment section, 1 through 10, and let us know. Subscribe now for more Seahawks coverage. We're going to have a fantastic watch party this weekend. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today.